Oh boy. Wow. Hey, I'm Ryan.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Chris, I just got a text alert. There's some fires in my area and it's got some very important news. You know what it says?
What?
I have more trophies than you. Yesterday.
Oh yeah, I saw that there's a bunch of
fires in my area and fucking, Ring, the company Ring that has makes the doorbells and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They apparently accidentally sent an alert to everybody in the valley that owns one of those saying level 3 evacuation, get out now. Because they were testing their evacuation system, and the Jackson County, which is the county I live in, the government had to come up and like, do not, you're fine, don't evacuate. So it was really scary for about 8 minutes. I didn't get one, but I was in with a patient who owned one.
Oh,
and
no.
So they were just like, what? And then very interesting day yesterday.
I believe. See, that's my biggest worry about moving to the West is just I'm wildfires seem pretty constant right now. I think I want to dodge those.
Just need it. They'll burn up eventually, and then what else can burn up? So
that's true.
It's a self-limiting problem. Welcome to the show. This is I Have More Trophies Than You, a bi-weekly podcast all about the different ways that people play video games. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Ryan Reed, coming to you straight out of Southern Oregon.
And hey, I'm Chris. I'm in central Indiana, where there's no fires. We just have tornadoes.
Yeah, I'd probably rather have tornadoes. I mean, they're both bad.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't mind tornadoes because I've studied how they're formed, and so I'm not scared of them anymore. I know when they're gonna hit, and it's I feel like they're more survival. I don't know. The fires destroy a lot.
Everything I know about tornadoes comes from either seeing Twister or when I was probably in either middle school or high school. In class one day, we had to watch a made-for-TV movie called Night of the Tornadoes. Have you ever heard of that?
Weird. I've never heard of that.
It's some movie about a real-life event where 12 tornadoes touched down at once in some city.
Oh, geez.
Probably somewhere in Oklahoma or something.
Yeah.
And it was oh no, everything's bad. But my high school's mascot was the Black Tornadoes, so maybe they're okay. I don't know. What was your high school mascot?
We were the Knights. Yeah.
Tornadoes are cool. Tornadoes are cooler.
Tornadoes are pretty cooler. Or pretty much cooler. What am I saying? I don't know how to speak English. I don't know. We've had a couple tornadoes. They're scary, but I feel like you can see where they're going. I feel like it can outrun a tornado, maybe.
You cannot outrun it. Listen, I'm going to go on notice right now and just say you, Chris, cannot outrun a tornado.
Maybe one day we can test that theory. We'll see. We'll find out.
Let's not find out.
Milestone episode. Episode 500. Look for it.
No. Welcome to the show. It's been a great 2 weeks. We had our first episode come out, and I don't know what you've heard. I've heard nothing but absolute positivity. Sounds like everybody out there listening loves it, and I want to thank everyone who came out and told us that you liked it because it makes us feel good and want to keep doing it.
Yeah, thank you for all the love and support off the first episode. It was
fuck yeah.
I was nerve-wracked all week because I was just I was excited because I was I can't wait to release this. And then when I released it, it's nervous because you're I hope everyone likes it. And it was resoundingly great. I was so stoked for it.
Hey, I knew it was going to be good. So I was.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
See, I knew we had something there.
It's so good. And I know that you're listening right now and loving it. And if you love it, hey, do me a favor. Tell someone else that they'd love it too. And let's grow that audience. Remember, we're not out here trying to do this for any other reason than it's fun. And to get that sweet, sweet Gamefly money.
Gamefly, where are you at? Gamefly.
Hit me up.
Let's go.
I've platinumed some Gamefly games that we're going to talk about right now in our new segment. What have you played since the last time that we recorded an episode? It's going to get a better name, but I want to start with you because yours will probably be shorter than mine. What have you been playing since last time?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Unite, that new MOBA game.
Yeah, I'm scared. I keep seeing that and I was maybe I should try it out. And I remember a fucking terrible addiction I had to League of Legends when I was in med school. And it's just maybe this would be fun. And I have to keep going, maybe not.
You know what? Let me sell you on it real quick because I do think it's a good game. I've got a couple problems with it. It's pay to win model, but it is the MOBA experience put down into a nice 10-minute mobile game. The they're timed matches. 10 minutes is as long as it goes. It's interesting with Pokemon being in a MOBA setting because it just works. It's a perfect license to use for a MOBA, and it's really fun. Like, games are quick. Like, I never feel like I'm in them too long. But then also the biggest drawback comes from the catch-up mechanic and just it's pay to win, because it's just clearly pay to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course it's pay to win. It's made by Tencent. They make pay to win games.
Yeah.
I'll say this about it. I'd be more willing to try that out and play with friends than I ever would fucking Fortnite. So you might be able to talk me into downloading.
It's great.
Monday night and fucking around with it. We might fuck around with that in the future.
I'm so down because it's my like wind down game. When I'm like ready to go to bed, but I'm like, oh, I just want to play a game for like 20 minutes. I'll play 2 games of that and then I'll put it down.
The fact that the games only go for a hard 10 minutes is good too. Cause I remember like, you know, on a lunch break between classes and it's like, oh yeah, let me try a game. Oh yeah, fuck, this game has gone 55 minutes and I have to be back for my next class in 15. I don't know how long this is going to go. It's like, well, gotta leave, gotta look like an asshole.
On top of that, there is a quick mode where they're similar games. They're like different objectives, I guess, but they're 5-minute matches. So it's like even more tailored to just the mobile experience of, oh, you're, you know, in between meetings or on the bus or like taking a shit or something. You got 5 minutes that you can play a game. Like, it's pretty good. Like, and it also comes out on mobile soon. Like, it'll be on your phone. I think that's next month sometime. So I'm looking forward to it on that because I would like to see it on my phone, but I'm so used to playing it on Switch now that I think that's just kind of like the best way of playing it.
If I played it, I think I'd just play it on my Switch because it's bigger. Is that all you've been playing though since last time?
No, I've played a little bit of a game we're going to talk about in a second, but I've also been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, of course. So, and I did play a little bit more Jedi Fallen Order. So,
good.
Yeah, so still on my radar.
In the last 2 weeks, you've played about maybe 2 or 3 different games, give or take.
Probably.
Okay. Since the last time that we talked, I have platinumed 25 new games. Plus, I've gotten a 100%, which is when a game doesn't have a platinum. So 26 games to your 3.
Holy shit!
So you need to step it up, bro.
That's intense.
Since last time, I have got the platinum in Round Out by Pogi on PS4, Brotherhood United on Vita, Freddy Spaghetti 2 on both PS4 and PS5, Riff Raccoon on both PS4 and PS5, Bully Starring 2 Pandy version, Project Summer Ice, the secret video games made by a weird Christian cult, but who cares because they're dollar platinums, Life is Strange 2, which fucking sucks, Gang Beast, which is the 100%, Pizza Break and Donut Break Head to Head, which are both Brick Breaker games made by the same company that keeps releasing the same game and skinning at other things, but I like Brick Breaker games. Bishoju Battle Mahjong Solitaire on PS4 and PS5, which is just a Mahjong game with big booby anime ladies. The Skylia Prophecy, which was some shitty Castlevania knockoff. One Escape on PS4 and PS5, which was a shitty fucking platformer. Sable's Grimoire which, on PS4 and PS5, which was a shitty virtual novel. Unicorn Break, Bowling Starring 3 Jane version by Project Summer Ice. Truber Brook, which was a pretty okay point-and-click adventure with a nice little like claymation style. Cotton Reboot, which I streamed last week, which was a anime shmup. It was okay. Gaps by Pogi on PS4 and PS5, which is another, the Pogi games are all puzzle games based on letters. And then Tokyo Run. And then a game I'd like to talk about really quick because there is one that you left off on your list of what you've been playing.
It's true.
That I made you play, which is I did get the platinum in Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, the official video game. That was my 750th platinum, by the way.
Hell yeah.
I'm at 757, just for anyone out there wondering. Am currently ranked 119 in all of America and 769th in all of the world. But I want to quickly, just for a couple of minutes, talk about, I had the funny idea. So if you don't know, there's a site that a lot of the major trophy hunters use called PSN Profiles. It's a good way to look at who's got what and where, it's also a lot of metric your stats. Here are many trophies you got last month. Here's how many trophies you're averaging a day. Here's how many trophies you get on like you've ever gotten on a Wednesday, or is the stat that you had. And so they do every 50 trophies, you have a milestone. And I thought it would be funny to get my 750th trophy, a milestone of the Olympic Games during the Olympics, because I thought that'd be a funny thing to look back on. And boy, does this game fucking suck.
Yeah, it's not great. Like,
it's made by Sega, so you'd expect something a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, even just when you think about like the Sonic and Mario Olympic games, like those are still done by Sega, but they feel like they have something more to them, which is weird when it's essentially the same game, just skinned differently.
Yeah, it's like they took the the idea of the mechanics of Mario and Sonic and kind of made them even dumber and then stripped everything out of it that made it fun. That being said, though, there is a big giant Sonic costume you can wear.
Yeah.
I made Sonic compete in the 200-meter freestyle swimming event, and it was very funny. But basically, almost every game is mash X.
Yeah. It's either mash X or like flick the control stick up or something. Like,
it's got some of the worst controls. So there's a long jump one where it's mash X to run and then flick the left stick at a 45-degree angle before you go over the line. The only problem being they don't show you where the line is, and they want you to be precise on that 45-degree angles. And it's just like, I'm just going to flick it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fucking bad. I bullied you into buying this game so that you could help me with the online trophies. How much more have you played since then?
I played, like, I booted it up to play it some more, and I played it for maybe like 5 minutes, and I was just like, I don't want this to be my first platinum. I want my first platinum to be something bigger. And I was just like,
you said that to me and I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I was just like, I will platinum this one day. We will talk about this game again when I'm like, hey, I platinumed it.
But like, that's what we'll say. It's like, well, that's
right. Yeah, I think I do want to platinum something, but I just want it to be something more substantial. You don't want
this to be your first one, which I totally understand. I will say though, for those listening who are intrepid trophy hunters, this isn't that bad of a platinum.
I mean, how long did it really take you? Maybe 2-3 hours.
Like if you're saying from first trophy to the end, it took me 4 days, but that's because I had to wait for when you weren't busy to get those other ones. But right now, the average time is anywhere from 6 to 12 hours, and that's from first trophy to end. Like that's not like how long it would I would say that it would probably take a good 5 to 6 hours if you just sat there and fucking did it. But take breaks because it's boring.
Of course.
Basically, there's 18 different events, 20 if you count that 2 of them have volleyball and table tennis have a single and a doubles variant. But it's basically just play each game once, win gold medals in 10 of them, and it doesn't have to be 10 separate ones, which I learned later. You can just do the easiest one is the 100-meter dash. You can just win that 10 times, get that out of the way, and then just try a bunch of the online stuff. And then the longest ones for like time are collecting all the outfits, collecting all the accessories, and obtaining all the tips. And that's the weirdest fucking thing about this game is that with all these events, they don't really tell you how to play them until you're done playing them, and then they'll unlock hints. And so it's like most games, it's like the way you unlock hints is by completing the game, win or lose. Most of them are if you complete it 5 times, you get all 5 hints. And it's not until you've unlocked the hints that they tell you advanced mechanics that will actually help you win. And it's like, why the fuck are you hiding the mechanics of this game behind playing it shouldn't you tell me that up front?
Right. I think that's also, you know what? Now that you say that sounds like a Sega design philosophy, because I hear that complaint with Sonic a lot, that they put a lot of their like tutorials or hand-holdy kind of things towards like the middle and end of the game, when it's like you should be front loaded with that. Let me know how to play the game before I'm too deep into it to just know already, Like
there's a baseball game which is very rudimentary and kind of shitty, and I wasn't able to score any hits because it was just like, why is everything I'm hitting a single? And it wasn't until I played 3 games that they unlocked the hint is, hey, if you hold X, you charge up the bat to hit it farther. And then immediately every hit I hit was a home run. It was like, why the fuck wouldn't you tell me that up fucking front? I don't.
See, that's a weird thing, though, because it's like they basically know, hey, look, we need you to play this. We want you to play this. So we're not going to tell you the mechanics just so you play it a little bit. And then when we're ready for you to move on, we'll let you know the mechanic and then you can do it. Right.
Yeah. I don't want to give this game any more talk. I do want to quickly give it a rating. As a game, what would you rate it from what you've played of it on 0 out of 10?
I think I'd give it like a 3, maybe a 4. Like it's there. You can play it. There's definitely somebody, like maybe a kid would enjoy it more, like a really young kid that's just getting into like, oh, the Olympics are happening, yay!
But fuck that, get that kid Mario and Sonic.
Exactly, right? That was kind of my thought. Is like, well, then you just give them Mario and Sonic instead. I don't know why you'd give them like a real game like this.
As a fun game, I'm gonna agree. It's like a 3 or a 4. I'm gonna split the difference and say 3.5.
Yeah, I think that's
as a platinable game. I will say that almost all of it can be done by yourself. There are online trophies that make it a little hard because there's one for playing a ranked game, which thankfully you don't have to win, you just have to play. The other things are for winning 10 online medleys and winning 10 quick events. And the thing that's hard about that is when you try to go in and play a game, if you're not the first person in a lobby, you don't get to pick. So you could be at the, you're at the
expense of the other player.
Like, yeah. So if you've got a friend, like I had Blaze, stages, and I set up a private room so that I could pick which ones needed to be done. Perfect. And then you can just do the 100-meter dash, which takes like 8 seconds, and you can fart this out. I would say that if you're trying to do this solely by yourself, I would give it like a 6 or a 7, where it's easy, but it's kind of annoying because of the multiplayer. And if you've got a friend, I would say this is an easy 8 out of 10 to platinum, because it's quick. It's a little mind numbing, but you get it done. And well, that's another platinum. And the platinum is called Perfectionist, and it's a picture of the Olympic ring. So that's kind of cool. So we're done talking about this fucking game.
Yeah, fuck it.
Until later when you eventually platinum and you say a platinum and I go, oh, remember that piece of shit game? Whatever. But
Right.
That's what we've been playing. So yeah, but now it's my favorite part of the show where we talk about our main game, which, by the way, I was thinking, why are we like hinting at it when everyone already knows what we're talking about?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's always on the title.
You're like, yeah, we're going to talk about something later. It's like, they already fucking know what it is.
We're talking about
2 games.
Yeah.
First
second episode 2 games.
Episode 2 games. Oh, I don't like the precedence. No.
You know what? I'm gonna put the precedent here. We're episode 3, probably not 3 games. Just don't get too excited for it.
We're talking about 2 games today because I think these 2 games together do make one big story. So I thought it was important to talk about both of them. Yep. We're talking about Resident Evil 7 Biohazard and Resident Evil Village, aka Resident Evil 8. Resident Evil 7 from 2017, Resident Evil Village from this year, 2021. Both great games and both very good platinums. First of all, I just want to go on and say, hey, spoilers.
Yes, this is your chance to bail if you do not want to be spoiled on either Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 8. This is your final warning.
At this point, in this many episodes in, you should know that the game that's in the title is going to get fucking spoiled.
Exactly.
So there's your spoiler warning. Let's start with Resident Evil 7 and let's talk about it a little bit. So this was kind of the reboot after 6, which some people call the worst Resident Evil. I don't think it's the worst one. It was bad, but they definitely, Resident Evil was in a hole. It wasn't exactly viewed as a good series anymore. I don't know what your thoughts of it were, but after 6, it definitely seemed like it had sunk.
It definitely was that for me because I personally didn't really enjoy 4 when I played it the first time.
4 is a piece of shit game that didn't age well.
Yeah, like and that's like I played that like when it first came out because I really like 1, 2, and 3. Like those games I really like. 4 was good, but it just kind of felt like we were leaving the style of gameplay that I liked for those games. And then 5 I actually got for free. I got it in a bundle because my Xbox red ringed on the day that game was coming out.
Good.
So I went to Best Buy and they had the warranty, so I just gave them my Xbox and they gave me the new Resident Evil Xbox that was red and came with 5. So me and my friend just sat there on the couch from getting home with that Xbox, played it from the beginning to the end right there. And that was a very fun experience. I loved it. I like that game because of the experience it gave me.
Yeah.
Not the greatest game though.
5's not a very good game, but I had such a blast. I played that on the PS4 in co-op with my friend Cody, and we platinumed together around Halloween a couple years ago. I actually just found a really cheap copy of the PS3 version thanks to Pink Gorilla Games on Twitch. Shouts out to DS Koopa. So I'm hoping I can con somebody I know into maybe going for the PS3 platinum on that.
It's a fun co-op game. Excellent co-op game.
And then 6, I would say also, I had a real fun time. Different friend, Matt Bruce, some of you might know him. He last year was just like, hey, I think we would have a fun time platinuming this on the PS4. This game sucks, but it'll be fun. And it's not a good game. The story is terrible and it makes no sense, but at least it controls better than like Resident Evil 4. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of fun playing it with him and just like shitting on it.
Yeah, that was the game that I bailed.
Grinding in it though.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, having to grind for enough money points to buy all of the different perks or powers or whatever. Mm-hmm. That was a good 10 to 15 hours of just sitting there doing the same part of a level over again and picking up. We'll talk about some grinding, not to this episode, but I've got some episodes lined up in the future that we're going to talk about some grinds I did, and it's going to be good. But no, the 6 grind was pretty bad. But then, so Resident Evil not looked at really well. And then 7 comes out of nowhere. It's first person. It's back in a house. It's in America. They've always been America, but it's in a different part of America. Now it's in the South. Yeah. And people are just like, what the fuck? And I got really interested. I picked this up pretty much right as it came out. And this was 2017. This area would have been right at the beginning of my getting back into platinums. Because the thing that caused it actually was this Watch Dogs, and Final Fantasy 15 all coming out within like a month and a half of each other. And it was like, I've got these really great games that I'm really liking. Fuck it, let's go for the platinums. And then it was, oh shit, the bug is back. And that is really when I started to get hold on me. I think
that's when Resident Evil 7 started.
Resident Evil 7 is only like my 5th or 6th platinum.
Oh wow, really?
I want to say, I'd have to look it up really quick.
For me, like,
what about you? How did you get to it?
It was a really long burn for me because 8 proved like that they're kind of back, or at least like to a new form, a new standard of Resident Evil. Resident Evil 7 I enjoyed, but I wasn't sure if the franchise was ready to be back in its kind of like glory. You know, it happens all the time in this industry where you get a good franchise.
It was my 8th platinum trophy.
Oh, hell yeah. I think there are times where, like, you know, there's a good franchise and then it burns out after a while, and then they'll make one really good one just out of nowhere, and then it's kind of back to where it was, right? Or it's trying to recapture what that game did well with, you know?
Yeah.
And I had that worry with 8, and I'm glad to say that I'm back in. I'm back in on Resident Evil. I was out on it for a while because, I was one of those people that I didn't like 4, didn't really care for 5, and 6 I just completely dodged. So
I would say in the last couple of years also, with one exception, every Resident Evil has been a banger, because you had Resident Evil 7, then you had Resident Evil 2 remake, then you had Resident Evil 3 remake, which I wasn't the biggest fucking fan of, and then you had Resident Evil 8, which those 3 games are, I think, my 3 favorite Resident Evil games. Right. And so it's like I give them a pass on Resident Evil 3 remake just because I think Resident Evil 3 inherently is not a great game because it's so linear. So it's not like you can take something that's already got a problem and make it better, but they at least made it, I think, a little bit more playable than the old one.
Yeah, and it's certainly pretty.
Resident Evil, I think, is definitely back. Now, that being said, they also made that Resident Evil Resistance, that Dead by Daylight game. That was fun for like 20 minutes, and then I put it away. And then coming later this year is Resident Evil Reverse, their like horde mode shooter. And it's just like, you guys don't need to always make some multiplayer shit.
Yeah, I don't understand
make these
it.
Good. They make these really good single player games, and then I think it's just the Capcom thing of, but if we make a multiplayer thing, we could get some, microtransactions.
Yeah, we could sell skins or
skins. Okay, so Resident Evil 7. The premise of this game is that you are Ethan Winters, who is a investigative journalist whose wife Mia has been missing for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you get an email saying she's in Dulvey, Louisiana. Come get her. So you get in your fucking car and you're like, I gotta go find her. And you find her, the location is this weird, gross looking Louisiana Bayou Manor owned by the Baker family. And you go in there and bullshit starts, which is the best way to do a Resident Evil game. There is a weird, gross location. You, against all better judgment, walk in. Now you're trapped and shit's going crazy.
It is so good. The immediate throwing you back into a house was so nostalgic fueled for me. Like, it was like, oh man, we're like kind of coming home. But then like in that moment, they tear this boy down. Cause like,
oh dude,
you might be better at explaining this for me. Cause like,
so what I really like about the beginning, the prelude, if you will, of Resident Evil 7 is that it introduces a mechanic for this game, which is found footage. So with Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, we've talked about this.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about the
Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 both do a thing where they're both kind of trying to allude to other horror genres. And when we get to 8, we'll talk about how 8 does it. But in 7, it's definitely trying to be a little bit Saw, a little bit Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and like a little bit home invasion movies. Yeah. And they also introduced this thing where you can find VHS tapes, and the VHS tapes are playable side things in an area you're already in, which the idea is to teach you about mechanics where you are that you wouldn't have found. Case in point, in the beginning of 7, you find a tape from a cast of a ghost hunting TV show who have just found this place and decided to break in and film it. And by doing that, you learn that there's a secret lever under the fireplace in like the family room that you can hit to open a secret door to go into the basement. And then when they do that, they get fucking murdered. But then Ethan can go find that thing that was there all along, that you can just, like, when I speed run this game now, but when you speed run it, you already know where it is. You can just pull it and you can skip that whole part of the game.
See, that's nice. That's always nice in a game where they kind of know. Well, I mean, Resident Evil games are built for you to play over and over and
over and speed
it's
run.
It's nice that they kind of take those little sections out if you just kind of know.
And we'll definitely talk about that when we get to the trophies, because there's trophies about that.
Oh god.
But I really like that there's this whole part of this game that once you've played it once and now you've learned the knowledge, it's like I never need to do that again. And so Ethan comes in, he's looking for his wife. He stumbles into what is basically the guest house wing of this mansion, finds the tape, learns to go under there, goes into the basement and finds Mia, finds his wife in a cage where she's been stuck for this whole time. You get her out, you start bringing her through, and all of a sudden she starts acting weird. And she fucking turns on you and stabs you in the hand and then cuts your hand off with a fucking chainsaw. Resident Evil 7 and 8, the main theme that goes throughout all of them is family and perseverance of will and severe hand trauma. Since this game is first person, the only way they could show portrait of the character was just by just
beating
fucking this man's hands up in the worst way possible. Over the course of this game and the next one.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. He gets stabbed through the palm. He gets in a hand entirely chopped off and then put back. He gets, what else happens? Bugs bite him on the hand.
Oh, he gets one of his hands eaten off.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to think of 7.
Oh yeah.
What else happens to his hands in 7? You can get nails that fly off of out of a balloon impaled in your hands. You can get your hands burned. You can get your hands singed off by acid. Then he gets in 8, a werewolf bites part of his hand fucking off. He gets hooks through his hands and hung on a wall that he then pulls through between the middle and ring finger. And then what else happens to his hands?
He gets his hand chopped off by Dimitrescu.
Yeah, he gets his entire hand chopped off again. The other one, not the one that was chopped off in 7. Because in 7, it's the left hand that gets chopped off. In 8, it's the right hand that gets chopped off. He gets his hands fucking like burned off with sludge from a big fish man. Oh, it's the grossest shit. And then the end is his hand fucking just gets annihilated and crumbles into dust. So like this hand is all about, this whole game is about hand trauma, which is hilarious.
Yeah, if you're like a neurosurgeon or someone that needs to protect their hands, don't suggest you playing this game.
Like me, like a chiropractor whose hands are their entire life.
That's true. Oh man, I do kind of love it though because
it's so gross.
Well, yeah, like it's gross, but like in 8 when they cut his hand off and he just fucking grabs his hand and just puts it back on, and it's just like this shit's so stupid. It's so good though.
So I do love that they explain it later why that is, but
and it's
the president 7 because he gets it cut off with a chainsaw. And then so Zoe, who let me go back to the story a little bit so I can get to explaining why this is funny. But so Mia freaks out, you kind of knock her out, and then this dude just comes out of nowhere and says, "Welcome to the family, son," punches you in the head and knocks you out and drags you back to the main mansion where you meet Zoe, who is the daughter of this family, who's like the only one on your side. The way that she puts your hand back on is fucking stapling it on and then pouring some goo on it, and it's like, oh, it's fine now.
Yeah, and which
this game is
that moment in the game, that's kind of the linchpin, right? That is the moment where everything changes in Ethan's life.
I don't want to
right, burying the lead a little bit, right?
I do want to explain this, even though we said spoilers. That is a spoiler to the overall story, which we'll get to at the end. But yes, that moment right there of Jack knocking him out and bringing him
to the house,
is the thing that changes everything about him as a person. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so then Zoe basically says, "My whole family's fucking crazy. You got to get me out of here." And she gives you what basically looks like an Apple Watch that's got your health meter on it and says, "This is a codex and it'll help you unlock things." He's just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But now you're in a house and your whole goal is get out. That's all it is. You don't get all this crazy bullshit in like 4 or 5 or 6 where it's like, I need to save the president from a terrorist organization in fake Spain who's making parasites, or I need to go to an underwater facility with my partner and stop the Umbrella Corporation from making everyone into zombies. It's very simple. I'm in a place I don't want to be, and my wife's here somewhere, and I want us to get the fuck out. How great is that?
It's excellent because, especially too, because like it's just scaled back. It's not taking itself to that that height yet of like, oh, there's this big government conspiracies and all these like, you know, global figures kind of messing around with everything. It's like, no, it's focused on Ethan and his struggle of trying to find his wife and get out, and which is nice for Resident Evil. It's a change of pace. It's the stakes. The whole world doesn't feel like, you know, it's at stake. It's in danger. It's your wife. It is your family that's at stake, which to, I would say, hopefully most people, it should be the most important thing, right?
Hey, nothing's more important than family. I ain't got friends. I got family. We love the Fast and the Furious around here, if you didn't know. What is kind of nice, though, is that in Resident Evil fashion, there's all these collectibles around, which are a trophy, you know, that you find basically like files and notes. And if you dig into that, there is the whole, like, you still have some of that Resident Evil conspiracy about corporations and shit.
Totally.
And we can, I want to save that for a little bit later. We definitely will talk about that. But it's like, it's there for you if you want, but you have to dig for it.
Yeah. And there's even just little small things to like Raccoon City, isn't there? Like newspaper clippings that say like, oh man, something weird one happened. I know there's a lot more in 8, but I think
that's more in the next game. Okay. I can't remember a lot of that stuff in 7. In 7, it's more about this new corporation and a little bit of what's happened to Umbrella. But like I said, I'm going to save that for a little bit later into the talk.
And that's what's kind of fun about 7 too, is that it doesn't rely on your knowledge of the franchise. Like it feels like its own separate thing until it gets to a point, of course, where like certain characters start getting introduced or reintroduced, which is great because again, more self-contained, more, you know, on its own. I think it kind of shows and stands above some of the other Resident Evil games just because it had that moment to be able to do that.
So before, when I was talking about how Resident Evil 7 and 8 kind of take their cues off of old movies, I would say that I would classify Resident Evil 7, as basically broken up into 5 chapters in my mind. And each one takes a different aesthetic. Chapter 1 in Resident Evil 7, basically the whole deal is you're dealing with this antagonistic force that is the Baker family. And the first couple chapters are about a different member of the family. So the first chapter is when you're dealing with Jack Baker. That's the dad. That's the guy that knocks you out in the beginning. And his whole part definitely is more the, what's it called? The Texas Chainsaw part.
Right.
Because the whole idea here is classic. Here is your goal. Here's the classic puzzle. Get out of the house. And so Jack is constantly chasing you and you can't kill him because every time you do, he even shows you himself. He puts a gun in his mouth and blows his own brains out.
Yeah.
And this fucking mold resets it. And then all of a sudden these creatures made out of mold are chasing you. And you find the door outside, but it needs 3 dog head statues to get out. There's your classic puzzle. Find 3 things to open a door. And it's all about bobbing and weaving from Jack and opening different parts of this house while you're trying to find these 3 pieces.
Right.
And it's fucking perfect. You have full reign of the house now. Not really though, because you start finding doors that's like, oh, this door has a scorpion on it. I need to find a scorpion key. Or, oh, the garage doesn't open. Where can I find the key to the garage? Oh, there's some keys by this door that I can't open. Oh, I found a garage key. And then as soon as you pick it up, Jack comes at you with a fucking paint roller with barbed wire on it, and you're fucking screaming, and it's great.
I got a question real quick. Did you ever play this in VR?
I did play a little bit in VR after I had already beaten it. We haven't really talked about that. This game was 100% fully playable in VR.
Which is
great.
Which the 8th one isn't though, right?
No, it's not.
It's weird.
But
like,
it's okay. I don't think that it would have worked as well because 8 is more open, whereas 7 is more confined, and I think that plays better to VR.
Yeah, totally see that.
And I'd say the VR for 7 is kind of a novelty. Like, unlike other VR games I've played where VR is a vital component, I feel like the VR here, you're not playing with like move controllers. You're not doing any VR things. It's just more about keeping you claustrophobic.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. It's more of just the camera is on your head.
Yeah.
Right.
The camera's on your head. And it's just like when shit jumps at you, it's like, oh, this is creepy. Yeah. But it's not like a vital part. I have more fun playing this game out of VR because now that I've gotten the platinum and I've done everything, I know the game so well that I can speed run it. And I do like speeding through it, that VR would be kind of like a hindrance. But for that first time of like, ooh, this is spooky, I liked it.
I feel that. That's pretty fair. I mean, I didn't play it in VR, of course, but and I also don't think it's like a game that what's the right word here? I don't think it like shines as a VR game. It felt kind of more like tacked on. I would say it was very cool that it had VR, and it's still regarded as one of the best PSVR games. Yeah,
but it totally totally works. It's fully playable and there's no hindrance to it if you're just trying to play it. But at the same point, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Once again, though, 7 is very claustrophobic. It's about being trapped, and 7 is more about or 8, I mean, is more about being in this big place, and it's more about the exploration. So that's why I think it didn't need that in 8.
I feel that.
Yeah. So this first chapter, you're trying to find the 3 parts. I really like the character of Jack. He reminds me a lot of like Mr. X from Resident Evil 2 because he's always following you around, and he's on. I do find that we'll see in 8 too. They do kind of rely a little too heavy on the welcome to a new part. Here's the person chasing you.
Yeah.
It works well with Jack because he's the first one, but there's one more in this game. There's only 2 in this game, and that's fine. And then in 8, you get 2 more. And it's just like, okay, I'm getting it. In 7, Jack is on a very set schedule. He comes out in very specific places. And then once you've hit all of those landmark ones, then he kind of roams a little bit and he's a little bit easier to avoid. And there's ways to get around him. The first part of 7 is all about basically the main house. You get a side wing, you get the main wing, and you get the basement. You get 2 different boss fights against Jack, which one of them, the final one being a chainsaw duel where they take, you can use your guns if you want, or they just give you a fucking chainsaw. And then he gets a giant chainsaw that's also a pair of scissors that has one of the game's only 100% insta-kill fail states, which for speed running is kind of annoying, but it's fun. You get to see a lot of gross shit. You get to see how this family has been basically for years now kidnapping passerbys, throwing them into bathtubs, filling them with this black goo and turning them into the molded, which are the main bad guys. There's no zombies in this game. It's all these mold creatures.
And that was honestly really weird for me because it's like, I guess like we've had different strains of this kind of like virus, like Ouroboros and stuff like that. But like
the Ouroboros and Las Plagas and the viruses and parasites. This was the first mold.
But it's like the mold was weird, and it was something I didn't like even fully understand until like, of course, when the 8th one happens, where they kind of just explain everything in that game. I like how the game plays out. I really like the opening of 7. I think that that first mansion is so fun to play, and everything with Jack is great. I start getting lost though towards the end of it.
Towards the end of of
7
of chapter 1.
No, of just 7 in general. Like,
we haven't gotten there. You're skipping ahead. Because after you take out Jack and you get out, you meet the next part of the family, which is Marguerite, his wife, and then you get the garden house section where Marguerite, her mutation. So everyone's got this weird mutation. Jack's is just like this significant regeneration, and your general like in Resident Evil 2 with G. Birkin, where he just kept getting grosser and grosser. That's what happens to Jack.
Right.
Marguerite is a weird bug lady who's got bugs in her, and you get to go to this little like lake house that is fucking infested with bugs. If you don't like bugs, this is definitely not the part for you.
Honestly, I don't know if 7 or 8, if you don't like bugs, I don't know if they're for you. If your bugs are a hard limit, because there are a lot of bugs in these games.
What are there bugs in 8? There are no bugs in 8.
Yeah, the whole first castle, they're made of bugs.
Oh yeah, the ladies. Well, yes, they are made of. How could I forget the bug? I love it when ladies are bugs. This is a different type of. Those are hot blood ladies that are made of bugs. This is like a gross old lady who's got bugs living in her butthole or something. Yeah, because it's just like she turns into like this weird spider and shoots bugs out of her ass. That's part of the section, a lot shorter, but also kind of the same thing. It's that, hey, you need to find a crank, you need to get in here. Right. That is also the first, this section is the first kind of lore drop where we learn that, hey, you need to make, everyone's infected, you're infected, and you need to make an antidote out of parts of a human fetus or like a dead baby to inoculate you against this mold. That's how everything is controlling. Somebody named Evelyn, who you haven't met yet, they say this little girl Evelyn is controlling their family through the mold. This is what Zoe's telling you, but you haven't really seen her yet. You've only seen the mom, the dad, Zoe, her brother Lucas, and the grandma who's always in a wheelchair who you can't shoot. The game won't let you shoot her. That's weird, right?
I mean, I'd say, would you really want to shoot the old lady though?
Yeah, fuck her. They always put her around corners and you walk out and it's like a jump scare. It's like, boom, it's this old lady sitting in a wheelchair just looking at you. I'd say the second part with with the bugs. It's short, it's fun, it's got some good jump scares, but we move on. The third part of this game is my favorite part of this game, and it's after you've dealt with Marguerite and killed her, you have to go to the barn to unlock Lucas's area. And Lucas, this is the Saw part. This is where we get my favorite part of this game, where they basically make an escape room for you to play.
Right. This might actually be my favorite part of the game too. Like everything that they set up in there is just fun. I don't know. Like
I love that Lucas is constantly fucking with you.
Yeah.
Because he's the only person in the family who's infected, but is still like not fully mind controlled by Evelyn. And they explain that by basically saying that Evelyn, we'll get to a little lore drop here, is this bio-organic weapon who's a little girl who has control of this mold that can take people over, may give them regenerative powers or make them bug people or whatever, but also mind controls them. Yeah. And she's this little girl who wants a family. And she has been tested on by a new mega corporation called the Connections. They're not Umbrella. Umbrella has gone good. Umbrella has ousted all the evil people and are now an anti-BOW corporation. And the Connections have found Evelyn and have told Lucas, hey, we'll inoculate you against her mind control if you feed us information. So that basically gives him this immortality powers that he can do his weird fucking bullshit on, but he's not mind controlled like the rest of the family. And so you're basically going into a barn with hillbilly Jigsaw, going through his weird traps. There's bombs everywhere. He like traps you in parts of the barn to have fucking MMA fights against giant molded, where he's got confetti and fireworks, and he's like talking about it's the Thunderdome. And at the end of it is this big giant escape room that, once again, you do another tape to find out how it works, where he's trapping people in this room with a big cake that you have to light a candle for, but the candle is actually dynamite, and he's burning people alive. And you have to find out the way to do his puzzle, but also not die. And I thought that was really fucking cool.
Yeah, it was a really good puzzle. Like that was where I think at that point in the game, I was like, this is clever. I was like, they're onto something here.
7 has good puzzles.
Yes. I think that's what 7 shines a little bit brighter in, is its puzzles versus 8. 8, I feel
8's got a couple, but
it's got a couple good ones. Yeah, but I think like 7 really shines in its puzzles.
I would say that if we want to skip a little ahead, 8's got one very good puzzle in the first area, and then the second area itself is an entire puzzle. But then after that, there's like a quick puzzle in the third area, and then the puzzles are basically over.
Right. I will say the one part of this, especially this section, is when you go into like the kids' room.
Oh, that was in the previous section. That
was it? Okay.
That's in Marguerite. Yeah, go ahead.
I get a little confused with this game because it's like, again, you're mostly in houses, so it's like, oh yeah, like this is great. Whereas like with 8, it's very clear where you are, and also it's been a little while since I've enjoyed 7. But yeah, it's like that was when I stumbled in there, I was just like, I don't want to be here. It's like, this is the worst setup for a horror thing. It's like, oh, I'm in the kids' room. This isn't. I don't want to be here. This is gonna be scary, right? This is gonna suck. There's always
for
something.
Everyone. So when back in the second part, when you're trying to get all of these gross fucking mummified body parts of a Series E, that's all they say, like embryo, to make like basically take all of these body parts and make them into your inoculation, you have to go into this room to get one of them that is like a kid's room, but it's fucking gross. All the lights are off, and you have to crawl underneath it. And when you crawl back out, there's like 30 bad guys,
right,
just coming out of the wall. Like they told you in with like, ooh, that's creepy, right? And then it's just like fucking run. And I love that part.
Everything that kind of like then goes into like this area with like the trap room. You said it best with it being an escape room. It's just a really fun section.
You have to find the candle and then, you have to light it. Oh, but you can't light it because you don't need the knob, and you got to go over here. And then that shows you the puzzle to unlock the door to get the handle that'll turn on the gas to the oven, so you can light the candle, so you can give it to this weird clown who will tell you the password to the other. And it's like, it is completely an escape room. If you've ever done an escape room, it's that same thing. This starts this thing that unlocks this thing that unlocks that thing until you get to the end. And they did a great version of it. And then in the DLC, they did another one called Bedroom that's the same thing. It's another great escape room. And if you want to, I'll do virtual escape rooms forever. I love puzzles like that. So I thought that was really, really good. I will say after this part, you do get a you get a third fight against Jack in his giant, disgusting eyeball form. Because of course it's Resident Evil. When something gets mutated, it's got a lot of eyeballs. That fight is dope. And then you get into what I think is the worst section of the, not bad, but it's definitely the low point, which is the tanker. So
yeah, that's what I was kind of saying before. It's just like, this is kind of where I kind of get a little bit lost on this game, because it's just like, I get it, but at the same time I was just like, I'm not ready for it to go here.
They needed a part to explain what was going on with Evelyn, and this is where you get most of your lore dump. So what happens is you have this fight with Jack, and you have, what they do is they make right before that, you get back to Zoe, you give her all the parts of this baby, and she makes you all of the inoculations. She makes you 2, because for some reason you don't need one. You're fine. We'll find out later why.
Yeah.
But you've got one for Mia, your wife, and you've got one for Zoe. But you have to use one of them to kill Jack. So now you've only got one. And the game is like, who do you want to save? Your wife or this girl you just met? Which I thought was very weird to put a branching path in this game.
Yeah.
Because all it does, honestly, like there is a canon ending. So it's like, this doesn't matter. And all it does is add a mini boss fight at the end of the tanker. Because if you save your wife, that's the good ending.
Right.
You save your wife, you get out.
That is the canonical ending.
If you save Zoe, that's the canonical ending. If you save Zoe, your wife gets all pissed. And later at the end of the tanker, you have to kill your wife. It's very weird. There's trophies after that too. So it makes you like do each one, which is very weird. But
I just thought it was weird because like if you do the route where you save Zoe, like wouldn't it, and let's just say you put this game down after that, right? You're like, oh cool, I played Resident Evil 7, I'm done with it. And then you went to go play Resident Evil 8. Would you not be completely thrown off by Mia just being there at the beginning of the game?
What's going on here? I mean, also it's just like it was not needed. Like what was gained by having this secondary thing? It was just a little weird, but I don't know.
My biggest theory on that, and especially like even just like the trap room section, is I almost feel like with 7 was kind of a game where they were like, let's throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what kind of works with it. And I kind of feel that a little bit with 8. Like I think that especially that end section that is very contentious.
The factory?
The Chris part.
Oh, no. Fuck that. I like the Chris part.
I like the Chris part too. But I mean, a lot of people were like, oh, this is just Call of Duty. And it's like, okay, I get it. I understand.
They're wrong, but whatever.
But like, I feel like, especially with these 2 games, they are trying to figure out
what Resident Evil is.
What Resident Evil is, or what it will be in the future. Because I feel like these games are doing a lot of good things in them. It's just sometimes it feels a little like uncohesive to me. And that's like, I get like the tanker section. It was just kind of like, I understand that this is where this lore dump just kind of needs to happen. This is the way that they're doing. That's fine. To bring it back to with the branching pathways, I feel like that was just kind of something that was happening in video games at that moment. And they were just kind of like, well, let's do it too. Let's see if we can do it and have it be worth your while.
It is entirely fucking unnecessary because literally all it does is add 1 minute mini boss fight. And then the ending is either he's happy or he's sad. I thought it was completely unneeded, but also not offensive.
It is pretty inoffensive, but it's like one of those things where it's like, maybe they could have spent that time making something else better or different, or, just working on something a little more instead of just like, it just feels unnecessary to the end of the game. Like, and again, it's like, there are definitely people out there. There have to be people out there that did that game where they saved Zoe and turned it off. I have a feeling
though, if you're playing that game, who would save, who's going to fucking save Zoe? It's your wife. You're going to save your wife instead of this random person.
On my first kind of, because again, this was another game where my first experience with it was through a Let's Play. And when they got to that part, I was like, no, save Zoe, because there's clearly something up with Mia. And I don't trust her. Let her die.
You didn't save your wife. Go tell your wife that you wouldn't save your wife. Go tell your wife right now that you wouldn't save your wife in the game.
She wasn't in a D&D game. I would totally just be like, hey, am I in the wrong here?
Yeah.
You know what? Tell me in the comments, am I wrong here?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't trust me. And and then when Resident Evil 8 started and like how it starts, I was like, I knew I shouldn't have trusted her.
No.
But then of course it all works out in the end, but like, or kind of, but I was a little just like, I don't know. I think actually I would have saved Zoe, but like, since whenever I played it, I was like, oh, I know what to do. So just save, Mia, because you have to, but
yeah. So no, the difference is, so whoever you save, you go off with on a boat to get out. And then all of a sudden you like get knocked out by this goo and you play as Mia no matter what. So even if you go off with Zoe disappears and then you wake up as Mia on this thing, or you go with Mia and Mia gets off this boat and you have to go go through this tinker where you learn that Mia has actually been working for the Connections this whole time. And she was Evelyn, the little kid with the powers handler. And basically she went crazy with her powers and crashed this tanker, killed everyone on it and turned them into mold monsters, and washed up on the Baker's family, got taken in, and then basically molded them all up. And that's where she's been for the last 3 years with Mia, because Evelyn desperately wants a family because she's a little girl who's been going crazy with mold powers, and that's all it is. And then you go through that. It's a very quick little section where you have to keep going up and down through this elevator to find the parts to find an elevator. It's a little confusing, but it's not too bad. I think people shit on it more than they should. It's a fine part. It is still very good Resident Evil backtracking. It just feels a little too long, right? After that Jack fight, you feel like this is the end. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, just do a little bit more. And it's not offensive. It's just whatever. I mean, like when you speed run it, that part only takes like 15 minutes. Yeah. So like, it's not that much stuff, but when you're first doing it, it's just a little bit like, oh, this is weird. Plus they introduce a new mechanic of finding acid to melt through locks. And it's like, oh, this is more shit I got to carry. I don't know.
I think that was probably what turned me off the most, was because again, the backtracking stuff.
That's Resident Evil. Like you can't be like, oh, backtrack. Like all you do in Resident Evil is backtrack.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of like what I was going to say, like with Jedi Fallen Order, it's like where I feel it was egregious. I don't necessarily think it's as egregious in this, because it's like, that's what you do in Resident Evil. You go back. It's all about filling in the map, Yeah. And so I didn't feel it.
It's smaller and there's more levels. So you're constantly going back and forth.
Right.
And so it's like people are like, I'm doing this a little too much. And I get it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's as bad as some other people think.
Yeah. I think it's as you said, it may be a little bit more than it should have been, especially because I feel like with the houses that you were in before, it's like, I think it was a little bit maybe more focused in its design. Where I say is like, this kind of feels like that section where it's like, well, we have to do the lore dump. How do we explain this? This is how we're going to explain it. Okay, cool. How do we build a level around it? I feel like that's where it starts kind of building and building and building. And it's like, oh, there wasn't as much focus in this particular level of
design. I think they were just trying to get out. They were like, we have our game, let's get out. But the thing is, though, is I do like the lore dump. I do like the idea of,
totally.
This girl's so powerful that she crashed an entire fucking tanker in the middle of a swamp and then took over a family. So there's no real boss fight on that. It's more just walking around. It's not until then you get the end where, fucking Ethan wakes up from his weird coma. You have a quick little, I want to talk about this. This is very important because it'll come up in the next one. You get this weird scene that nobody really understood, but now makes a lot of sense, and we'll get into it, where after you're done playing Mia, but before you start playing Ethan again, Ethan has what I can only describe as a dream sequence where he's talking to normal Jack Baker and normal Zoe in normal living room of the gross house. The house that was the same room before was like filled with trash and blood and everything. Now it's normal, and it's Jack saying, I took this girl in and now we're trapped here and we can't get out. And I don't know what happened to my family, but please watch over them. That's not us anymore. Right. And it's like, how is he having this conversation with basically the consciousness of a guy that you've already murdered 3 times? And it's really interesting what that means. And I want you to remember this. I don't want to say it now because once we talk about 8, it will make so much fucking sense. And I thought this was so smart. I don't know how they planned this out, but they got me so good with this. But anyway, so then you wake up. And then the end of the game is, I got to go kill Evelyn. So you go back through some tunnels that were underneath like a mine under the house. It's a cool, like not boss rush mode, but I mean, you're running through and they're throwing a lot of shit at you. Yeah. You get back, you find Evelyn, the little girl, and find out, hey, guess what? That old lady the whole time, that's been Evelyn the whole time, because the mold made her age rapidly and she was like making you imagine a little girl. Whatever. You blow her up. Chris Redfield shows up, throws you a big gun to turn her into, like, when anything in the mold here dies, it like dries up into this weird chalky substance, and you chalk her up, you get out, end of game.
I will say that section though,
the mines
where where you talk to Jack, it's it's so smart. It's so like, I really wonder what the mindset was of the developer when they were putting that scene in, because it's so clear that they had a through line for this game to the next game. Like,
did they? That's my question. Did they know what they were going to do in 8, or did they just put that in and then later go like, oh shit, well, we can make it this. And I want to hope it's 1, but I could definitely, with Capcom being Capcom, I could see it being 2.
My hope, at least, is that it is 1. Like it was a plan.
But the thing is, we'll never, we can sit here and debate.
And debate on,
know.
Hey, No Clip, if you can get into that studio, that's a good question to ask them.
Go find out.
But yeah, like
go to Capcom, who will never do that, and find out.
Yeah, I believe, I gotta believe, right? Because
if anyone could do it, Danny O'Dwyer could do it.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, it's even to the point where like I'm excited just to kind of see how this affects the 9th game.
Oh yeah,
the way that they explained that scene with Jack, because it's not fully explained in the 7th game. You're just kind of like, oh, that's weird. Like, all right, like I mean, I guess it makes sense, but the revelation of why that happens is so good, and it's like kind of worth like the wait on it, because it's like it just gives more to Ethan's character and making him just a better character.
You say it's worth the wait, but it's like, well, we didn't even know there was something to wait about.
Right, I know.
It's not like it's like I wonder. It wasn't until 8. Before we get into 8, really quickly. So, did you actually play this game, or did you just watch Let's Plays of it?
Of 7?
Yeah.
Yes, I played 7. Just a quick playthrough on Steam. That was it.
Okay, but so just one playthrough. That's it.
Yeah, because again, I watched. Honestly, I think I watched like 3 Let's Plays of it because I was interested.
I've this a couple times online. I don't know if you ever watched those, but I've sped run this on my stream. I sped run this on the Poorly Played stream.
Yeah,
like I've done this game a couple times online. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of this game because again, it was the one where I used to be a big Resident Evil fan. I think I'm back in now, but it's like this was the one where I was just like, I don't want to spend my money on it yet. I'll watch it. If I enjoy it, I'll buy it and play it. And it definitely was something, I enjoyed it. It was a quick, I knew what I was doing, get in, get out. 8 is the game where I haven't played it yet, but I am excited to, because
I haven't played it yet.
I haven't played it yet.
You told me that you replayed it before.
I have an explanation for that.
Before you get into that,
okay,
hold your explanation. Let's go over the trophies then really quick.
Yes.
I will say, as a trophy hunter, this is a game where the way that I did this and the way I do every Resident Evil is my first run, blind playthrough just to enjoy it. But then these games are meant to be replayed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this game requires a couple different playthroughs because you need to beat it on easy, normal, and Madhouse. Not all at the same time. Like they do stack, but it's like you do need to play this game enough to know how to do it so you can do other runs.
And that's also like playing the harder ones, unlock the harder ones, correct?
So you have to beat the game on normal to unlock Madhouse.
Right. Okay.
They did do a thing in 8 where it's like if you pre-ordered it, you get the first one off the bat, but that'd be dumb to do because if you try to walk into the hardest difficulty without
the whole point of those games are to play them, get all the upgrades, and then play the next one, get the rest of the upgrades, and then continue on that way. It's like towering. It's you're building up on your arsenal there.
What I also like about this game, and then they do it in 2 remake, 3 remake, and they do it in 8, is the idea of trophies for runs that have a specific goal, like beat the game in 4 hours, beat the game without opening the item box more than 3 times, beat the game with only using 3 first aid meds or less. That was fun because it's like I played my first one. I just played it to play it. Then I did a second run after I beat it to clean up collectibles because in this game, there's 3 types of collectibles. You've got the files. You've got what are called Mr. Everywhere statues, which are just this little like bobblehead of a football guy. And then you've got these antique coins. And the antique coins are cool because not only they're collectible, whereas like the little bobbleheads are just a fun thing. And if you find them all, you unlock forget what you get for unlocking them all. It's either a gun or it's like a perk or something. Yeah. These coins are used in game to unlock new items,
which is nice. Like giving purpose to your collectibles is always a good thing.
That's how you get the Magnum. That's how you get an upgrade to more health. And it's like making them do something was a lot better.
Yeah, and
because in 8, their collectibles do nothing.
Yeah, and that, again, that's as I just said. It's like give your collectibles purpose. Like don't just have them to have them. Like always put something at the end. Like otherwise, like if you're asking me to collect these things and there's no purpose to collect them at the end, like if it's just like, oh, you did it, pat you on the back, good job, send you on your way. I don't want to do
anything other than me who's trying to get trophy. Exactly. I remember, big tangent here, the original Assassin's Creed on 360.
Oh my gosh, yes.
There were like 800 flags.
Yeah.
And I found every single one because they each had an achievement to it. And I thought at the end of that, I get some cool costume or some sick sword. And all those flags were in there was for those achievements. Just like Ubisoft was just like, here's a million flags to find for no reason other than 10 to find them.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, I was like, I can't believe I fucking did this. It's like, yeah, I got my trophies, but fuck that. Thankfully, in subsequent games, like in the next one, Assassin's Creed 2, their big collectible was all these feathers. And at least when you found them all, you did get something. You got a cape that like lowered your notoriety, which was pretty dope.
Yeah. And actually that you mentioned Assassin's Creed 1, I think that was another one of those games where I was collecting things. That was when I was more in my achievement kick playing on Xbox, and that was one where I remember my friends being like, oh, I've collected this many of these. And I was just like, oh, I ain't got the time for that. And I was just like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
But I had to because I could not get all the trophies. One other thing I want to say about 7 that they didn't do at 8 that I was a little disappointed with, but I fucking love is that the hardest difficulty is called Madhouse. And it's not just harder. They remixed everything. They have their own set of collectibles, and those collectibles open up different cages with different things in them. So like in the normal game, you have to find these keys. There's a scorpion key, a crow key, and a snake key. They all open different parts of the level. Well, in the original game, you just find the scorpion key. In the Madhouse, you have to fucking buy it. If you don't buy it, you can't unlock basically the door that makes it easy to go from the main house to the basement. So you have to go this long way every time. That makes the game significantly harder. And I thought that was really cool. But I'm assuming you had no idea about that because
I wasn't going to do
that. Most people don't.
Yeah, my
Madhouse version.
Yeah.
I also really like that. So one of the things about speedrunning this game and 8 also, I had to do a little bit to get the platinum is that you learn where everything's, and it was really cool that it's like, all right, I'm gonna play the hard version, pretty much know where everything is. It's like, oh shit, things are in different places.
Yeah.
So it was like a second game on, maybe not a second game, but it was like a remix of the game onto itself.
Yeah.
I thought
which is
cool.
a cool way of doing, the harder difficulty.
What was also nice is that the hardest difficulty was really fucking hard, but by doing all of those other runs first, like the first aid meds or the item box, you unlock a circular saw, you unlock a better gun. So it's like you're getting these tools that are making even though it's hard, you're making it a little bit easier.
Yeah. Like I don't blame them for putting in collectibles this way. And I think I might have said this even in the Star Wars one, right? But Resident Evil does it right in most of their cases of just like, hey, there is something for it and it gives you a better weapon or better cool things at the end. But,
no, I really like that. Yeah. I do like the way they did it here a little bit more than the way they do it in 8, which the way they do it in 8 is how they did it in like Resident Evil 3 remake.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2 remake reminds me a lot more of this game. Because the way that they unlock things in Resident Evil 2 remake is like this. You do specific things, you get specific items. Resident Evil 3 remake and Resident Evil 8 both implemented like an internal achievement system that by doing specific things, you would get a currency, which then you could spend in an in-game store to unlock. Like that's how you get infinite ammo in 8 is by paying points once you have a gun upgraded. Whereas here, you get infinite ammo by beating the game on the hardest difficulty. So you don't have infinite ammo for the hardest difficulty. Whereas the hardest difficulty on 8, I already had unlimited ammo on the fucking Magnum and it just made it a cakewalk, except for a couple parts, which we'll talk about there. But overall, the trophy wise, the trophies for this game are very fucking doable. The hardest one is probably just beating the game on the hardest difficulty because you will not have unlimited ammo, but you will have this circular saw, which is a melee weapon that just fucking cuts through people. And, you'll die in one hit or 2 hits, but, as long as you play it safe and you kind of know where things are, it's not too bad. Everything else is pretty simple. It's, hey, make one of every consumable item, kill someone with your knife, and then weird things like, during that fight where you're doing chainsaws with Jack, you avoid one by ducking, kill 2 people with 1 shot. Play all the videotapes. One was really cool is play that videotape for the escape room in under 5 minutes. Play all the videotapes in one playthrough. So it's very fucking doable. It's a great platinum. And then they put out 4 DLC packs, which are pretty fun. I don't know how. Did you play any of those?
No, I did the Chris Redfield, like
Not a Hero.
Not a Hero. One. Yeah. That one I because I love Chris Redfield. So I tuned in for that one and then I dodged the others, but I heard they were fun. But 4 DLC packs is that's substantial for a game.
I don't want to spend too much time on them because we could talk forever, but I'll just say that, there were 2 DLC packs. There was Banned Footage Volume 1 and Volume 2. Those were more like side things. Like the first one had the second escape room. They had a mode called Nightmare, which was basically a horde mode. And then they had Ethan Must Die, which was basically a roguelike version.
Yeah.
The Ethan Must Die took me a long time, but when I got it, it was good. It was really cool. It was basically you need to get to the end of this level through a very specific pattern, and everything shows up the same, but what drops out of boxes and what weapons you get are random. So this was when you were saying they're trying to throw anything against the wall. That's what the banned footage was, because you had someone saying, I want to try a roguelike, someone saying, I want to make a horde mode, someone saying, I want to make this. In the second one, you had this weird 21 game, which I think sucked, but it was like somebody wanted to try it. Then you had this thing called Daughters, which was like more of a narrative one. And then you had this mode called Jack's 55th Birthday, which was this weird time attack mode where you had to kill zombies to rack up time to find food to feed Jack on his birthday. And it was just like, they're trying weird shit. And this came with the gold version of the game, and I'm fucking for it. I didn't get all the trophies in it because some of them were hard, but I also I'm not hardline on DLC. I only really care about the platinum. So it's like, I got my fun and I got out.
Yeah.
Then they put out Not a Hero for Free, which was a side thing of Chris Redfield versus Luke. Yeah. That was great. And then they ended with End of Zoe, where you're playing as Jack's brother, Zoe's uncle, who finds her in the swamp and then has to fight the swamp man. You can use weapons or you can just punch with fists. There's actually a trophy I didn't get for getting through the game on normal with just your fucking fists. I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
Shit.
Overall, though, before we move on to 8, because now that we've gotten into this, this one might go a little bit longer.
Yeah, this one's definitely, because we're rounding out about 75 right now.
Oh shit! Should we save 8?
We could save it. We could do 8 in the next one.
You know what? I feel like I don't want to rush through 8, and I've told we've talked about how
good. Like,
I have so much stuff to talk about 8. I feel like
8 is so fresh in my mind too, because like that I do actually need to round back out and tell you, when we were talking about doing this episode, right? Mm-hmm. We were talking about Final Fantasy before it, and when we and it was at midnight, and I might have been under the influence a little bit in that conversation.
We were talking about, Blaze was talking about, I don't want those Olympics to be my first platinum. So platinum game I like. Hey, does Final Fantasy 9 have them platinum? And I was like, yeah, fucking good luck. He's like, and Blaze was like, no, I love that game. It'll be easy. That game's not fucking easy. That game is 100% all of the side shit.
It is like it is. I don't know, because it's my favorite game, and like I know it inside and out. And it's like, when I looked at the platinum, I was like, oh yeah, Excalibur 2 is a little rough, and this does require at least 2 playthroughs. Because to get Excalibur 2, that's on a time. You have to do that in 12 hours. Game in
12 hours.
Yeah.
But then it should, like, hey, 1,000 jump ropes.
Yeah, it was the jump rope that broke me. I was like, I don't want to do that.
Somebody did write a script where if you're playing through remote play, you can just have it jump rope for you. But I don't know if you want to do something like that.
I would do that. I would.
That would be a great. Fuck it. I would think about maybe going for the platinum just so we could talk about 9, because I also love 9.
Can we? Oh my god. I'm actually replaying it on my streams right now. Like, I'm doing these late night ones where I just play it for like in 3-hour sections. It's been a lot of fun. But we were talking about Final Fantasy, right? And then we were like, oh, you had said, oh, have you played 7 and 8? And I was like, oh yeah, I've played 7 and I'm replaying 8. I even typed in Resident Evil at that moment, fully thinking that I thought we were talking about Final Fantasy 7 remake.
That makes way more fucking sense. That's why you were like, I'm replaying it.
Because
just like,
I prepared for Final Fantasy 7 today. And I was like, oh man. Oh, no worries. Okay. That's me.
Right. I'm going to make an executive decision, and we're going to say this episode is now not titled Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village. It's just titled Resident Evil 7 Bio. And next time you guys are going to get Resident Evil Village. Yeah,
and it is going to be fresh. And you know what? This is actually kind of cool, because we are giving people a chance to go play 8.
Oh shit, it's like a game club.
Go play 8. Go play 8, right? And if you haven't played 7, go play 7 too, because they're both relatively short games.
You need to play 7 before you play 8.
Yes, absolutely. But, this is a part 1, part 2.
7 and 8, and then go platinum them, or don't, and then get the platinum after. But I wanted to say that the platinum of Resident Evil 7. Oh no, you know what? You rate it first. I like it when you rate it first.
Yeah, totally.
Just as a game, what would you give Resident Evil 7?
Even though for fun. And this is coming off of my, like, again, I probably haven't played this game in about a year or so. I like this game fully after. God, it's weird to rate it without having to give the context for 8, because I think 8 is what makes this game even better.
No, but the thing is that my original opinions of this game were before 8 came out.
Right.
Yeah, 8 makes me like this game even more, but you have to rate this game on its own.
On its own, I think it is a solid game. It is, and it's a game worth your time. I think if I gave it a number, it's probably an 8. I think it's a solid game. Like, kudos to Capcom.
You've rated it too low. I'm no longer friends with you.
Oh, no. I think it's an 8 only because, like, it was the game where I was like, all right, you did it once, do it again. You know, and it's because of what 8 does that makes parts of 7 be like, oh my gosh, like it's hard to separate these two games and call them two games because they feel like one big game, right?
It's one big. It really is one. It's not one big game, but it's one big story.
It is one big story that has a conclusion at the end of it. Like, sure, I'm sure the 9th one will, you know, it'll probably be built on everything of this, but the story of Ethan Winters is built within these two games.
Yeah. This is a story about Ethan and Ethan overcoming adversity because of the love he has for his wife and trying to get her back.
Right. And I think that this game does it very well. I just think like I think an 8 is a great game. I think 8 is really, really solid. Like, I just think that in that section where you get the lore dump, the whole tanker kind of like, that's where I start kind of being like, I'm just trying to get through this to get to the end at this point. And then the cliffhanger with Chris left me for a long time just being like, is that Chris? Like, who knows? Like, but I kind of like that it stands on its own. I like that it takes Resident Evil, takes the old classic one, mixes it up for like kind of a newer modern day kind of spin, and does it very well. And even in first person, like, which is totally foreign for me or like, you know, just kind of like most Resident Evils, you know. But yeah, I think it's worth your time. It's a solid game. It's got solid gameplay and solid puzzles all the way through. So yeah, I'd totally 8, maybe even 8.5. Like, it's solid.
Still too low. I'm going to tell you right now, Resident Evil 7 is a 9.5.
Woo!
And that is coming from the fact that the trophies are fun. Mm-hmm. They are not too challenging. There's nothing that you're going to bang your head against. Nothing that they ask you to do is impossible, which we will get to in the next fucking game. Next episode, I'll tell you about a fucking impossible trophy. The hardest one is just playing the game on the hardest difficulty, but by strategizing and planning it out by getting those unlocks beforehand, that takes some of the pressure off it. The collectibles are not too hard. There's only like, I want to say there's like 40 or 50 files, and playing it blind by myself, I just found all but one just by looking around. Yeah. There's only, how many?
I mean, that's the thing about Resident Evil 2 is that, or at least this one, because it's not as open, it's a little bit easier to find them collectibles. Like they're in a house. Like, go find them. 4
videotapes. There's 18 antique coins on normal. There's 33 antique coins on Madhouse. So you got to find those. There's 32 files. It's the next one that has like 40 or whatever. And there's, I think, only 10 Mr. Nobody, or what's his name?
So you're Mr. rounding Everywhere? about 100 collectibles total. Is that where it is?
Probably a little over that, somewhere between 100 and 125. But like, they're not that hard. You'll find most of them without trying.
Right.
And there's so many good guides out there of where the rest of them are that it's very easy to do a cleanup run. Plus, honestly, once you've played this game a couple times and you know where everything is, my record for beating this game is an hour and like 53 minutes or something. No, it was 151. You can beat this game in under 2 hours if you know what you're doing.
That's a question I have for you. With the speedrun aspect of this game and the following game, would you consider yourself to doing like a speedrun to submit for a time? Or do you think that's kind of just like out of the
speed runs that are people do? I've looked up. Number one, they play the game on computer instead of PlayStation because it's faster. Number two, they play the game in Japanese. And number three, there's a way to skip through part of the game where you can have Jack push you through a wall. And I just don't want to like that. That just doesn't seem fun to me. So like I think the record for me in this game is under an hour and a half. So I'm 20 minutes off. That's a lot of time. So it's just like, I'll say this about this game. This is the highest praise I could give Resident Evil 7. Since I've started playing this game, since I've started playing the game of trophies, it's the only game I've gone back to and played just for fun.
Wow.
It's the, like other games other games that I've platinum multiple times because I love, like my favorite game of that whole generation, Persona 5, I've only ever played again because I've gotten another copy to get other trophies. Control, I've only ever played again because they put out new versions where I could get the trophies again. This is the only game where it's like, I've gotten all the trophies, but I want to speedrun it again for Garrett's show, or I want to speedrun it again for my show because it's, I have a reason to do it. It's the only game that I have played after getting the platinum for fun.
That's like, it's kind of wild to me because like, again, like when we were talking earlier in the show, it's like you've platinum 25 games in the last 2 weeks. So it doesn't like seem like you kind of go back too much, but that's like,
I don't.
That's high praise if you're like, oh yeah, I do go back on this one.
I never go back to games after I've platinum them because it's like, well,
you've done everything.
I love a game,
like what else?
I've done it. I've done everything. It's time to move on. I enjoyed that game and I've enjoyed that piece of media. It's time to put it on the shelf like a trophy,
right? Which
it is, and to move on. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is the one where it's like, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and I probably will do that with 8 when given the opportunity to speedrun it.
Have you played it since 8? Since 8's released, have you gone back to play 7? Okay.
I mean, 8 only came out like a couple months ago.
Yeah, so. That's true. Like I wasn't sure if you were like, oh, you know what? Like the itch of 8 was just so good. Like I want to go back and re-experience 7, knowing what you know.
8 did something that made me never want to touch one of these games again.
Oh yeah,
but
that's right.
Listener, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
next
episode, guys. Go play Resident Evil 8 and 7. Yeah. Go play them right now.
Play it, and you should platinum it. So that's an 8 from you. That's a 9.5 from me. That's the highest rated game on the series so far. Say.
Like that
out of 2 games, it's number 1. Well, there you go, guys. That's Resident Evil 7. Yeah. And hey, this is great. I thought this was going to be an episode of 2 games, and it turns out we got 2 episodes out of this. So we already know what we're doing next time, and we can play along by getting it. Before we leave, kind of like last time, this is where we talked about what's upcoming, but the same games are still upcoming. So
you know what?
Should we do like viewer mail?
I think we actually should. I think that would actually be a really fun thing to do too. Like, plus I also kind of just want to hear about like what people want to play on the show. I threw out a tweet earlier today, actually. I said, hey, we're recording episode 2. What would you like to see on the show in the future? And I did get a reply from Tylon. Shouts out Tylon. Tylon wants to see us play Fallout New Vegas. Does that have a PS4 version or like
No, it's PS3 only, but I will say that's the only, that not counting 76. I own that, and it's the only Fallout game that I have the platinums in 3 and 4 and Fallout Shelter, but I haven't never played New Vegas.
Really?
So that'd be something to play. Have you ever played it?
Yeah, I've played a little bit, but again, like the Fallout games are not my favorite.
I love Fallout.
I like the Elder Scrolls games a lot more, but Fallout, the post-apocalyptic future, like that setting is not really my favorite setting.
That's my fucking jam, baby.
If that's what people are wanting to see us play, I'm down to play it for the show.
We'll put it on the list. I'll make an effort, hopefully, in the future to platinum that. Once I do, we can talk about it.
I mean, I did Outer Worlds, which is the other Obsidian game.
Fucking great. That's another. Definitely talk. That's a great episode right there. I'd love to talk about that too. Oh fuck, we have so many good episodes.
I know. Okay.
And hey, I'll let you guys in on a little secret. We're definitely the only reason I didn't want to do them up front is because the director's cuts are coming out soon. But I want to do a Death Stranding and a Ghost of Tsushima episode.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to playing Ghost of Tsushima. Like the more I keep thinking about, the more I'm like, I want to play this.
You're gonna fucking love it.
I'm trying to lock down somebody's PlayStation to borrow before.
No, it's on PS4.
Well, I want to play the PS5 one though, right? Like I want to play it in its full form.
Gamefly sponsor us so that so that Chris can buy a fucking PS5.
Yeah, and also PlayStation put out more PlayStation so that I might even have the chance to buy one.
Yeah, no, dude, Gamefly. I've got like 2 Gamefly discs sitting here. I got a 3rd one coming. Love your service. A couple of those games that I've platinumed since the last time we talked were Gamefly games.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, what do you have on Gamefly right now?
Like, what did I get from Gamefly since last time, or what do I have right now? What did I get from Gamefly last time was Life is Strange 2, Gang Beasts, and Truberbrook. Those 3 were from them. Right now, I've got Spirit of the North, Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, and I've got Ark Survival coming because you can use what's not developer codes. What's the fucking word I'm looking for?
Cheat codes?
Yeah, cheat codes. Cheat codes to just get all those trophies really quick. So
nice.
Love your service, Gamefly. Guys, please tell Gamefly that you listen to this and that you love Gamefly because of us so that we can get that sweet, sweet Gamefly money to get Chris a PS5 and to get me free video games.
And Gamefly, I know you're watching. I saw you like the tweets. Like,
Gamefly liked our tweets.
We're looking for you, Gamefly. Like, we want to be out there for you.
What's the email we have so that people can.
Yes. If you want to email us questions, send it to ihavemoretrophiesthanyou at gmail.com. Plain and simple. It's the name of the show at gmail.com. All one word.
Just, yeah. And hey, send us emails about what, questions about trophies or questions about video games that we've talked about in the past. Or if you have something you want to say, let us know and we'll,
or let us know what you want to see on the future. Cause I'm down to play anything. Too. Like, even if there's a game series I'm not a fan of, I'm still down to play the game. Like, I'm always down to research and look into something. So,
and I'm down as long as the platinum trophy is not broken or incredibly fucking just like balls to the wall difficult.
Exactly.
Or something like White Knight Chronicles, which is like a 3,000 hour platinum. I'm not fucking doing that. I'm never gonna fucking do that. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck that.
If there was one game that was like, hey, it's 1,000 hours.
Final Fantasy 14.
Final Fantasy. Okay, we'll get there then. We'll get there with Final Fantasy.
I'm close to getting the one. I've only got 3 more trophies I need on the PS4 version. It's to do Guildhest, catch fish, and the 1,000 Fates, and then I can start working on the PS5 version.
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for it. I can't wait. Great. Cannot wait. Oh my god.
Has this been episode 2? Was that episode 2? I think
this is episode 2. Guys, was this episode 2? You tell us.
That was a good episode. I like this one a lot, and I like that we already know what episode 3 is going to be. And we also know something very important that we learned from this episode.
And what's that?
I have more trophies than you.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you'd like to send us questions, gaming memories, comments, or if you just want to know when the next episode is going to drop, then you can follow us on Twitter at moretrophiespod. That's MoreTrophiesPod. That's More Trophies Pod. Also, you can email us at ihavemoretrophiesthanyou at gmail.com. It's just the name of the show, all one word, at gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow Ryan at Dr_Ryan on Twitter. You can also keep up to date with his Monday night Twitch streams office hours at twitch.tv/Dr_Ryan. That's Dr_RYAN. Dr_Ryan on both Twitch and Twitter. And follow Chris on Twitter at Burezu in Japan. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, I'm going to spell it out for you right now. That's BUREZUINJAPAN. That's all one word, Burezu in Japan on Twitter. And when they are streaming, you can check them out at twitch.tv/BlazeTK. That's BLAZE, the letter T, the letter K on Twitch. BlazeTK. Thank you again so much, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.